Alright guys, we're going to check out this Taurus Deputy today in 45 Colt. They also make this in a 357 mag. They also make it with a longer barrel, I believe. Mine is 4 3/4 inch here. Some of you may be wondering about the grips there because these only come with all black grips, but I didn't like the look of all black, so I tried to do a little paint job there. Leaves a little to be desired, but I plan on getting some grips for this at a later date anyway, so I just wanted to try my hand at a little bit of masking tape there, razor blade, and paint. So that's the what you're seeing there. So they do not come that way. That's my own little thing. And if I get too close, you're going to see the shoddy workmanship there, but she'll work for now. Even more eagle-eyed guys will notice I got these bullets backwards. We're going to check it out today. This will be first shots. Got some cowboy loads here. Got the Federal soft points. These are 225 grain. Let's see what grain these are here. 250s maybe? Yeah, 250 grain there. So try some light cowboy loads through it, and then also some more, I dare say, full power 45 Colt here by the Federal. I know people are going to say Buffalo Bore, Underwood, that's full power. No, those are extra power. So it's a single action old school type cowboy revolver. If you couldn't tell, you can remove the cylinder by depressing that, pulling this pin out, and then you can pull the cylinder out. You got to give it 2 clicks on the hammer to do so. And then this right here, and this right here, you can slide forward after you spin the revolver, use cylinder to push out the spent cases. It seems to have like kind of a, it's blued obviously, but it's got a polish to it. And then the grips are just like a flat black. So I've owned a few Heritage Rough Riders, which by the way, I had to send one in once and I sent it to Taurus. So apparently Taurus owns Heritage. And by the way, please forgive the dirty fingernails and such. We were doing gel tests out here earlier and the gel is real sticky and traps dirt and all that, pulling out these bullets. So I think this is going to post after this nice little 38 special ballistics gel test here. Got some really good results. So stay tuned for that. But to me, this feels like, you know, it's the same style. So it feels a lot like a Heritage Rough Rider, only way, way better made. Obviously, a lot more heft. Everything's a lot more precise and nice. So kind of like that. So I like it for that fact. It gives you the 4 clicks. Okay. And 2 clicks so you can spin. Like I said, you can use your ejector there. You flip out your feed gate, loading gate, whatever you call it there, line it up, push out your spent cases, and she's a single action only, and there is a transfer bar down in there so you can carry with all 6 in the chamber with the hammer down, no worries there. I get a trigger weight for you guys. It's feeling like 5 or 6 pounds to me, and I was surprised. I guess maybe I shouldn't be so surprised because it's a Taurus, but it does have a little bit of creep, and maybe it's just mine, I don't know. But there is a little bit of trigger creep that, hang on, I got something crawling on my neck. Whatever the heck that is. Some kind of spider. Better than a tick. Where were we? Trigger creep. It's got a little more than I would like. Obviously, single action should be nice, fine, and crisp, which it is. It's pretty smooth, but I think it has a little excessive trigger creep for being a single action. So let me try to capture that for you real quick. Pulling through, applying pressure. It just moved a little there. And you got to really look for it, but there's some. So a little bit of creep. I mean, it's not terrible, but I've definitely had way better single action revolvers there. So a little more creep than I would like. Let me grab my trigger gauge real quick, see if we can get a read on that. Thanks again to my buddy over at Cranky Gun Reviews for the trigger gauge. If you guys are into classic revolvers, go check them out. It's got some stuff on there you probably like. Yeah, so right in the 5-pound neighborhood there, just like I thought. So since I still got the chrono set up there from the gel test, let's send some of these over the chrono, see what kind of velocities we're getting. Again, 4 3/4 inch barrel, if I'm not mistaken. I don't see an advertised velocity on the box, but I'll see if I can look it up. If I can find it, I'll put it in the video for you now. That's going to be these boys right here. 250 grain, all lead. And then that soft point there is the Federal, which they were advertising 8 something, 225 grain, 860 feet per second is what they're advertising there for those. So let's see what we get out of the 4 3/4 inch. All right, so like I said, you flip open your feed gate here, 2 clicks. Then you'll be able to spin the cylinder freely. We're going to put 3 of each over the chrono, starting with those cowboy loads. I get the smallest amount of resistance there now that I'm feeding these in. It's only from those cowboy loads. Yeah. Brass might be a little higher on some of those. The Federal wasn't dragging any of those cowboy loads. I could feel dragging just a tad. None of them are sticking out the end, so it's just the brass. So let me see here. All right, if I did this right, it should be the cowboy loads first, 3 of those, and then 3 of the Federal. That was definitely a cowboy load. That's pretty slow. All right, now the Federals. Well, 171 ain't right. That's an error. I don't know what the heck's going on there. We'll have to try a couple more. Most of those fell out. The Federals are dragging a little too, and I can see where it's happening. It's like on the pivot arm or pivot joint of this feed gate, loading gate, whatever it's called. I'll show you guys here in a second. There's a ton of 22 Magnum powder all over that thing, so there might be some on the sensors. That might be why it's acting up. I don't know why we keep getting 100 something, but there's a 700 like it should be. I don't know. Like I said, there's a ton of 22 mag powder all over that thing, so maybe I need to clean it. And I will say, there's definitely a lot more pop with the Federals, but it's all muzzle rise. It's not like, you know, coming back in your hand. I mean, I feel a little more in the palm, but it's mostly just extra muzzle rise with the extra power of those Federal there. So hopefully I was in frame. You'd probably be able to see that in the recording there as long as I was in frame. So still really manageable. It was real comfortable and soft. It just came up quite a bit higher. Eye and ear pro I'm using today is by Shell Shock. I'm so glad I switched. These things are fantastic. These are the most comfortable safety glasses and earmuffs I've ever put on my head. So I'm so glad I made the switch. There'll be a link in the description of those if you want to check them out. If you're wanting to get yourself a good pair of safety glasses and earmuffs there. There's also a review on those in the parts, accessories, and optics playlist on the channel. Alright, those were my first shots over the Chrono, so this will be my first shots on paper here. So put a cylinder of the Cowboy loads through it, target on the left, and then I'll put a cylinder of the Federal American Eagle, the soft points, on the target on the right. All of those fell right out. You gotta love that. So here go the Federal, and we'll see if all those drop out too without me having to push on it. Interesting, different point of impact, and the slower ones are hitting higher than the more powerful ones there. Let's see if these drop free. You should be able to hear them. Nope. Half of them did. Half of them dropped right out, and the other half, I mean, just the slightest touch and it came right out. So good cylinder on this guy. And so, I mean, you guys could have seen it, but these are basically first shots here. Pretty accurate, it would seem. Just kind of flinging them down here, 7 yards. So obviously I pulled that one, but there's the Cowboy loads going about 1 inch high. I was holding 6 o'clock on that, and still 6 o'clock on this. And then there's with the Federals there, so different point of impact there. And surprisingly, the more powerful one, like I said, is lower. Usually it's the other way around. And yeah, I'm definitely having more of these stick and drag, whereas the Federal, I think only had one that did, so I don't know how well you can see it, but basically down in there, let me see if I can demonstrate. So when I try to make sure you guys can see it, right there, okay? Make sure you guys could hear me. Right there, those Magtechs are sticking, and the Federal don't really seem to be. So there's a Magtech, and that Magtech's clearing.
So it actually had nothing to do with the ammunition. I'll show a little bit later in the video what the actual issue is.
So I'm going to go down there. We're going to start with the Cowboy loads. And some of these are stubborn, don't like to fall for 9mm, but I'm curious if the Cowboy loads will knock them all down no problem with that low velocity. I'm kind of thinking they will. That big slug will hit a little harder. That one right there on the rightmost bowling pin, is usually the most stubborn. So if it'll knock that one down twice in a row, then it's going to knock them all down. But we go down there with the Cowboy loads first. We'll do a couple cylinders of that. Then we'll try the Federals, and then I'll come back here further and see if we can pick those bowling pins off from all the way back here. That's kind of fun to shoot. And you've probably heard there, but all those Magtechs dropped out again. I don't know, that was too easy. Let me stand back here with those Cowboy loads and try knocking them down from further. Back behind the camera, those bowling pins are 15 yards away. Laser rangefinder confirmed. If you guys are looking for a good budget rangefinder, I've been using this one for years. Still on the freaking original battery. Comes in well under $100. There's a link in the description for it if you need one. So we'll try from back here, 15 yards. I think I'll hit the closer one first. Yeah, let's do that. We'll knock over the closer one first, and I'll reload and see how well we can pick those off back there at 15 yards. All right, here we go. Yep, I figured I'd miss that on the first shot back there because I was going too fast. Still dropping free. Alright, I just had a little issue there. My cylinder locked up on me. I think it was my fault. I think I did something with the trigger hammer where it got kind of caught like between the first click and the second click. And whatever that catch lever there is called was stuck up against the cylinder. So, I mean, I was able to get it out in about 30 seconds. Pulled my rod forward here. Gave it a few wiggles and then it popped out the side. Now we're able to reset. I did notice that the rod is sticking too. It's a little difficult to get out. Like I said, you depress the button and then you can slide it out. It's kind of hard for me to do one-handed, but I've lubed it up there, so that'll help it out a little there. It's definitely improved. It clicks back in there. Of course, normally it's going through the cylinder. So this rod is a little difficult to use. It comes all the way to there. It does not come out all the way. So that's interesting. But I'm pretty sure I caused that malfunction. Again, I'm not a huge revolver guy. I've owned a few over the years, but I'm almost positive I did something to cause that, because she's fine, pulled the lever forward, got the cylinder out, so we should be good to go again. So if that happens to you, you should be able to do the same. I just pulled the rod forward so I could get the cylinder out. Even though this wasn't quite on the second click yet, I think I wiggled that. Maybe it's pulling back on the hammer slightly, and then I got her to pop out for me there. So we should be back in business now. And again, if any of you revolver guys know what I did there, if you kind of know what I'm talking about, even though my language on it is poor because I don't know a ton about revolvers, go ahead and tell everyone down in the comments section what I did there, because I'm pretty sure it was me and not the firearm. But we get set back up here and get back to these 15-yard attempts here on those bowling pins and such. Also, I'm almost positive I rode my finger on the trigger as I was pulling the hammer back when it got stuck. So probably something to do with that is why it got stuck on me. But here we go. Second one was my fault. I definitely pulled that shot, and then I didn't really care after that. Started going faster because I was having too much fun, and that's why I missed another. So let me slow down here. Should be able to hit these both in a row. That last guy, a little challenging though. It's pretty small. Alright, so found the issue there. These are the Federals now. Every single one of those stuck on me. Now if you look down in there now, we actually have clearance between the brass, quite a bit, millimeter or two. That's because I found out this thing is walking forward. The feed gate, or whatever it's called, is walking forward. So I pushed back on it and wiggled as I pushed back, and it slid back on its pin, and now we have clearance. So clearly that thing's walking. So I'm gonna have to contact Taurus about that. I don't know if it's supposed to do that. If it is, it's kind of, it was stiff on the pin, so I had to push kind of hard to walk it back. So obviously some loose tolerances there at a minimum, but if it slid back and forth on that pin smoothly and with low resistance, as you turn it, it would just push it back no problem. So I don't know if they're supposed to have a little play. Again, not a revolver guy. Let me know in the comments. But that's what's going on there, and that's why sometimes they're sticking and sometimes they're not. Anyways, we'll go down there now with some of these Federals, and then I'll come back here and try 15 yards with those as well. Flinch! Killed it. "15 yards with the Federal. Barrel's getting pretty hot, full sun and black, plus all these rounds we're putting through. It ain't being easy on her. There's only those 3 left, and I got them without missing. So I was hesitating a little because I couldn't really see the black sights that good against those black painted targets. But we still got them. So this is not at all the most comfortable platform for me. I'm a semi-auto polymer guy. I mean, I like everything. We shoot everything on this channel. I love them all. But I'm certainly more comfortable with other platforms. And even out of my revolvers, that's not the most comfortable one for me by a long shot. And we still have no problem. I got little hands. That's, I think, about 4.5 across there. So still no problem hitting 15-yard headshots with that, even though it's not my most comfortable platform. So that thing is a shooter. I mean, we already seen over there on my target first shots, it's grouping pretty good. So I'm sure it could group probably 3 times tighter than what I did freehand there. So this thing is a tack driver. And you know, it's good. These sights are not really adjustable. So it's good they lined up perfectly for me from the factory. You can, however, adjust the windage slightly by bending that front blade one way or the other. It'll move your point of impact left and right. So if you do have a slight impact zone left or right, you can bend that front blade there a little bit one way or the other to line it up for you. But for me, with mine, it's lined up perfect right out of the box. Now this completes my revolver collection for now. This is the last one I needed. I just needed a nice cheap little 45. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with this though. It's way funner to shoot and I'm way more capable with it than what I thought I would be. So nice little addition there to the collection. But now we have, I got a 22 mag that's on its way back from Taurus any freaking day now. So we might be adding that to some of the revolver caliber comparison videos I have planned. Stay tuned for that. But we got 38 special 357 mag now. I got 44 special / 44 mag. And now we have the 45 Colt. So I'm on a really tight budget. Eventually I'd like to get, you know, 454, 460, 500 Magnum, 480, stuff like that. That's in the future, a few years down the road once I can afford to do so. But we got all the most common calibers for revolvers now. I'd eventually like to start adding those to lever guns. So that'll be coming down the road as well. But now I can start my caliber comparisons playlist. Again, 22 mag potentially, but definitely 38 special, 357 mag, 44 special, 44 mag, and 45 Colt. Shooting stuff like, you know, watermelons, cinder blocks, all kinds of fun targets. We'll do some with FMJ or round nose or what have you, and then we'll do some with hollow points. And I'm planning some hard cast videos in all those calibers as well, so stay tuned for all that. But that does it for this one. So in conclusions, I like it quite a bit. I think there's definitely room for some improvements there. Like I said, the trigger, I mean, some people like 5-6 pound trigger, and for those people it's fine. I prefer mine a little bit lighter. I mean, like this Smith & Wesson here, we're confirmed empty, by the way. It's so light. It's like a 2.5 pound trigger. I absolutely love the trigger on this thing. So the trigger's a little heavier than I like. But if you like 5-6 pound weight, then it's just fine for you there. Except for I wish, like I said, showed in the video, it does have a little more creep than I would like. I mean, it's not terrible by any means, but there's a little more creep there than I would like. But obviously, it's not a deal breaker or anything like that. It also did not really affect my performance down there, as you could see. So again, not a big issue there, but I would like to see that improved. It'd be nice if there's some grip options, which I bet you in the future they will start releasing them with different grip options. It was a little concerning that those shells are dragging sometimes, and I showed the issue there. So whether that needs to be more freely moving around on its pin that it sets on so that it doesn't really drag, or if that's a tolerance issue that should not be there, that needs addressed one way or the other. I did not care for that at all. And then, of course, we had the cylinder lockup. But again, I'm pretty sure I caused that because I'm almost certain, and I know I shouldn't do this. And again, I've not shot a ton of revolvers, so I'm still getting used to it. But I'm almost positive I was riding just lightly, but like, kind of just like letting my finger rest on the trigger as I was pulling this back. So I think that had something to do with it getting locked up in there. Or it could be, you know, combination with these things dragging in there sometimes. But I'm pretty sure I helped contribute to that thing locking up. I don't think it would have been an issue otherwise. So I'm not gonna blame that on Taurus. I think that was me. Man, these guys are having a heyday over there. I got a new phone, so I'm not sure how well the mic picks me up when people are shooting. Hopefully better than the last one. But I'm not blaming that cylinder lockup on Taurus. I think I caused that somehow. So if that's the case, we got that dragging issue there that needs addressed, and I'd like to see a little less play in the trigger. But overall, pretty positive experience today. Thanks for stopping by, checking this one out today, guys. Really appreciate it. Again, links for everything you see me using my videos and more in the description. Things I cannot link to. Check out my campsite page. Thanks for stopping by, checking this one out today, guys. I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you on the next one.